Welcome to another episode of Writer and Geek Show. We are your hosts Vishnu and Shankar, and in this episode we're going to talk about being an audiophile. What is it?
Or audio related stuff, not specifically being an audiophile.
The past few months have been a journey, right? Our idea of music evolved to be something different from what it was, completely different, right?
Yeah, I think that was a result of the insanity that was caused due to the lockdown and other stuff.
Yeah, because we had nothing else to do, so we began exploring things that we already liked, which is music, and went on a rabbit hole, which was totally, it was kind of a revelation where we got to know a lot more about music and the art of creating music.
Yeah, but when we say music, it's not strictly the science behind music production as such. It's more about listening, right? I mean, we have been listening to music since we were kids, and that was the only thing we used to do in our younger age because there were no computers and stuff like that. So we used to spend a lot of time listening to music, and that has always been a passion as well, right? But what I saw in myself, at least in the past few years, or maybe past few months, I was listening to very less music. And there was a point actually where I thought, is my Spotify subscription even, justified and all that kind of stuff. Of course, I didn't cancel it because music was always a part of my life. But few months back, we started, getting into this whole audiophile thing. And, right now we are at a place where all we do is listen to music and nothing else pretty much.
We did not get into purposefully, right? We just got to know about something, I think it started with our interest in buying true wireless earbuds for the convenience.
Yeah,
right?
I don't remember how that started. I don't remember why did we even decide to buy true wireless earbuds. I think it was like, okay, there's nothing much to do. What else?
I think I know. I remember how that transition happened because before the whole lockdown situation happened, I used to use this wireless earbud, Boat one, because my previous one broke. So when I was going to buy that Boat one, you told me, there is this website called Headphone Zone.
Yeah.
Where it's for, people who are interested in music, and you'll find all different kinds of musical listening equipment from wireless earphones, true wireless earbuds. I didn't even know what it actually was before, checking out that website. So, so you introduced me to that website, and then I was like, okay, it's too costly. I don't think it'll be worth it. Even for the convenience. Then you went ahead and bought a true wireless earbuds, and I was super fascinated. I changed my stance and bought a true wireless next week.
Yeah, so I'm so thankful that Headphone Zone exists, because we have access to a lot of products which are not available anywhere else in India. Especially audio products like headphones and earphones and DAC and amps. We will explain all those things, what a DAC is and all that, in this episode. I think that is the whole topic for this episode, right? How music works and how does one record music and how do you play it back? What really happens in that process?
So one thing we want to mention is that this is not a sponsored video by Headphone Zone. We are just, because we bought stuff from them, we are just telling you it's,
we are no way sponsored or affiliated yet, right? Headphone Zone, if you're listening. But we are big fans of the site. I think I spend a lot of time, just browsing through stuff and and trying to think of what is the next item that I can purchase and all that. I have few items in my wish list, but then we'll wait for that. But Headphone Zone was introduced by a friend of mine. Right. Her husband is also a crazy audiophile. He keeps purchasing stuff and all that. But I was not, I think I got to know about the site about 2 years back when I thought of buying a headphone.
Oh.
Yeah. But I didn't buy anything at that point of time because I was, right, how we were. We used to judge a headphone based on how much bass it actually had. And I always used to think that more bass means better headphones. As I was saying, I got to know about Headphone Zone about 2 or 3 years. I don't remember exactly, but I didn't purchase anything at that point. But I saw a collection of headphones which were like something that we have never seen. And we were like bass heads. We were looking for speakers and headphones which had this booming bass and all that. But over a period of time, I realized that is not just it. I used to read little articles here and there, but was really not interested in all that.
I think over the period of time means last 3-4 months.
No, when I got introduced to the site, I saw a lot of comments which said it is balanced and it's not bass boost. So I was like, what is the point of listening to something where you don't have that booming bass and all that kind of stuff? And in the last few months, when we got back to Headphone Zone again, and I decided to order a true wireless earbud, which was RHA earbuds, very stylish looking. Unfortunately, didn't work out for me because it had some technical issues. That is where it all started. Then you bought another one's headphones, and this RHA definitely did not have that bass boosted sound. Then I realized that this balanced sound, which is like flat, there is nothing boosted, no treble boost or bass boost or anything. It sounded really well, really nice, and that is actually how you are supposed to listen to music.
Actually, balance means they pull back the mids and just improve, add on to the highs and bass a little. The one which is flat is actually called flat.
Yeah, so this one was balanced is what I remember, if I'm correct. But then I was curious about how completely flat would sound. So that is where it all started. But before we get into this, again, thanks to Headphone Zone for making all these lovely products available and all that. But what I really want to talk about today is how does this whole audio system work? Like, from recording, how does it, we have had the history of using turntables and vinyls, and then we move to cassette players, and then we have CD players and stuff like that, and then we move to MP3 players, and having digital files, and right now we are on the streaming platforms like Spotify, etc., and all that. So I just want to go back into a little bit of history, and not necessarily history. I want to touch upon that, how does it really work, not going too much technical, but like a layman's way of explaining how all these things actually work, and how does sound get converted to digital audio, and then it gets converted back.
Digital signals.
Yeah. So let's start from the beginning, right? All the sound that you're hearing on any streaming media or any digital device was something that was recorded at some point. So that is where it starts. Maybe an artist decides to record an album, or a band decides to get together and record an album. That's where it starts, right? So we know that let's say, take a typical song, you usually have vocals, then you have instruments, percussion, and all that kind of stuff, right? So it all starts with a microphone, something similar to what we have right now. Now there are different type of microphones. I'm not going into all that. I think we would have discussed that sometime. So everything starts at the microphone. Microphone kind of has something called a diaphragm, which vibrates when sound energy hits on it. This vibration is then converted into electrical energy. So basically a microphone is a transducer. A transducer is anything that changes energy from one form into another form, right? So that is what this microphone is doing. It's converting it into energy, electrical energy. And if it is a live session, what really happens is that electrical energy goes back into a speaker. The speaker similarly has a diaphragm, which we'll explain, which converts that electrical pulse, which vibrates and converts those electrical energy back into sound. So very straightforward, right? But what happens when we are listening to streaming audio or a vinyl or whatever it is, right? So it doesn't directly go from a mic to a speaker. So in case of vinyl records, which is the traditional way of listening, and most audiophiles prefer listening to vinyls because it's physical, it's not streaming, it's not losing any quality is what they claim. We are not at that stage yet mostly because of our financial status, I think.
Hopefully we'll never reach there too, because we'll spend a bomb on it, and I think.
But you know what? If you have means, I don't mind having a proper vinyl room and listening stuff and all. Yeah, so recording process happens. Similarly, you record through microphone, or maybe as an output from an instrument or anything. Those things are recorded into something called a master disc, which has a ruby head, which carves into that disc a bunch of grooves. Grooves is it's like a valley, right? So the groove has two sides, right and left. So that becomes right and left channels of that particular record. And that master disc is used for replicating and creating using plastic. So records are basically plastic, right? That is used as a mold for creating those plastic records. So that information gets stored in that plastic disc. That's why if you look closely at a record disc, vinyl record, you can see those grooves. And a vinyl player has something called a needle, which you would have seen in the videos, right? They keep a needle, it starts rotating, and then music starts playing. So this needle passes through the groove, and the small variations in the groove cause the needles to move left and right, which in turn creates electrical energy within the player, and that gets converted to the
Sound.
electrical signals, which ultimately get converted into sound through speakers, right? That is how traditional vinyl works. Then we moved on to what was next? Cassette players.
Tapes.
Yeah, cassette players. So that is where our era started, right? Before we started using CD, although CD came much before we were born. So cassette players are a little different. Again, physical form. So you would have seen the cassette tape. It has a magnetic tape, and it contains some iron ferrite compound which gets magnetized. So while recording, there's a recording head which magnetized and orients those particles in a particular way, which stores the sound information. And you would have seen a small cassette player, audio player, right?
Of course, a lot. We used to have many.
Exactly. Yeah. So the way we used to do is we used to put the cassette inside and press play. You will see a record, a play head coming and touching the magnetic tape. That's when the sound starts coming. So the record basically reads this information from the magnetic information, and again a small electrical pulse is created, which is then amplified, and then it comes as stereo. So what happens when you completely finish listening to one side? You turn the cassette around and start playing the B side, right? That means one single tape has two portions. One is A and one is B. And each portion has a left and right stereo left and right channel as well. So one single tape has four channels, right? That's how that thing actually works. And then CD is somewhat similar to how a vinyl works. There are grooves and stuff, but the only thing is you don't use a needle to read through. You use laser. Instead.
It's digital.
Yeah, it's digital. And one of the advantage of having a CD is that there is no physical contact. And they say that a record player, a vinyl record sounds the best when it's played for the first time, because every subsequent player it will be worn out, right? There's physical contact. That means it will get damaged over a period of time, which was not the case with CD. CD is optical. Laser contact doesn't really create any friction or damage or stuff like that, right? And also you could save a larger amount of data into a CD. If you remember right, I think a CD used to contain around 700 MB of data.
Yeah.
Right. So that was the CD era. I think we have used a lot of CDs and CD players and stuff like that. So internally what happens is, now, before we go any further, let me explain what happens before the audio hits the speakers, right? So we have digital data stored in the CD. Now, once you pull the digital data, it needs to be converted to electrical energy so that you can push it to the speaker, and then the diaphragm can vibrate and generate sound signal, right? So that process is done by something called a digital to analog converter.
DAC.
Yeah. So in the recording process, there is something called analog to digital converter, which changes the electrical pulses into digital. Now, digital to analog converter takes the digital data from whatever source you have. It can be an online streaming platform as well. Converts that into electrical signals, which can be supplied into your speakers.
Yeah, this is one question a lot of people had, because when I posted the picture of our DAC, the DAC you bought,
right,
on our Instagram, like a lot of people asked what is the need, and I had to go on like explaining to them, this is the thing, when you record something, the analog signals are converted into digital signal and stored in like CDs or like tapes or whatever. Then once you're listening to something, this digital signals needs to be converted into analog signals. And our laptop or like mobile phones, it's not optimized for music because it's a multi-purpose equipment, right?
Yeah, so that's what I was about to say. DAC is nothing new. Most of the devices that you have at home, it can be a Walkman, it can be a mobile phone or a laptop. Everything has a DAC built in. So the headphone output that you see is the endpoint of a DAC, where the digital signal gets converted to the analog signal. Even the dongle that you use for iPhones especially, which with the lightning to 3.5, that is also a DAC. So everything comes with a DAC. But the thing is, when you are really serious about audio, right? Like where we probably are at this point, we are at a very beginner stage. But when you get serious about audio, you realize that the DAC which comes inside your laptop or phone is not really optimized, and they don't really care about the kind of audio conversion that happens, right? So for those purposes, there are specific purpose-built DACs which are created by certain companies, which can output really clean signals, right? Digital to analog signals. So since we became a little serious about audio over the past few months, we decided that, the laptop's DAC is not cutting it. So we decided to buy some purpose-built DACs for this reason. And I went ahead and bought a DAC from a company called Audiophile. It's called the Zen DAC. It's like a desktop DAC. It's not really portable. So if you're watching the video of this episode, you can see it on the screen right now. This is what it looks like. And I think after that, you also thought that you need a DAC because you started listening to few songs which I played through my DAC, and you were really fascinated, right? And you got one from a company called FIO, which is this one. If you're watching the video,
much cheaper one.
Much cheaper, but more portable one, I would add, right? This is something you can fit into your pocket and take it anywhere you want, coffee shop or whatever. I can take mine as well, but it would look a little clunky and it will occupy a little more space. But the one which I have is a little more powerful than the one which you own. So these are kind of the budget versions of DAC that is available in the market. There are DACs which are like 3 lakhs and 7 lakhs, 7 lakh rupees worth and all that, which are for high grade and, very serious audiophiles. I don't know if we would reach there anytime, but...
So the thing is, when I posted this picture, people were like, what is the need for that? And I had to explain this to probably like 5 or 6 people. I had to send these long texts to them saying what a DAC is, and I showed them the pictures, the one that we have, and they asked me how much it costs. So I told them, they were like, what is the point? What is the point? If your laptop can do it, what is the point of investing in these things?
See,
but yeah, only when you listen to it, you'll understand.
See, that is the thing, right? I mean, you can purchase a Lamborghini or you can have a normal Polo GT as well. Both will serve the purpose of you moving from one point to the other. In fact, the Lamborghini is more expensive and I think only 2 people can travel in it. So it doesn't make much sense to have. But that's not the point, right? It is about the driving pleasure and the whole new feeling that you get out of buying a supercar. I'm just giving an example, right? So having a DAC, if you are really serious about the way you listen to music, in the sense you are really conscious about the different aspects of music, the instruments, the way they play and all that, then DAC makes a lot of difference. The difference that it makes is it is much more higher in clarity. You have a better soundstage in the sense you'll feel the instrument separation happening, right? Because this is purpose built for that for whole digital to analog conversion kind of a thing, right? It's not doing anything else. And it also amplifies the signal to an extent, which will increase the volume and create a little more, it makes everything more tighter is what it does.
Yeah. So if you don't want to invest in this thing, I think you should check whether when you're buying a headphone or something, you should check whether it needs amplification. If it does not need amplification, you don't need to buy a DAC. But I know a lot of people who's got ATH, Audio-Technica M50X and all that, who doesn't use a headphone amplifier or a DAC.
Yeah, so see, this is another problem, right? Normally people buy this high-end headphones and you can see comments on, these websites saying that these are all rubbish. Why do you have to pay so much? The reason that they don't sound really good is because you don't have an amp or a DAC. Right, buying an expensive headphone is only one part of it, right? We have these ATH 20 X's which we bought just for the sole purpose of having a monitoring headphone for this podcast. But we started using this for listening to music as well. It made a big difference, but then we wanted to know what next. That is when you started with buying the DAC, and it really made a big difference because it started powering these headphones really up. So headphones have this impedance levels also, right?
Yeah.
Lower the impedance, it's easier to drive the headphones. So you can lower impedance headphones can be connected to your mobile phones. It will still sound better. That is what happens with these small earphones or in-ear monitors, as they're called, IEMs, right? But when it comes to bigger headphones, the impedance goes up, and if you connect it to the phone, you will not have any proper volume. It will be very low and you cannot distinctly hear the different components of music. That is exactly where a DAC comes into picture.
Drive in the sense it will need more power to work on it, and the laptop or the phone won't be able to provide it.
Exactly.
Right?
This is similar to the way you power external speakers, right?
Yeah,
you always use an amplifier for that.
Yeah, and the difference between DAC and headphone amps. Headphone amps just increase the volume,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And DACs are like, it
Exactly.
converts the signals.
So headphone amps are at the mercy of the DAC, which is powering it. If it is laptop DAC, it will not, it will have the quality of whatever input comes into it. So it cannot do much. It will increase the volume and a signal strength. That's all it does. But if you supply a headphone amp with a proper DAC, that is when you really start seeing the difference.
Yeah, the major difference that I felt, because previously I used to use only a headphone amp, and when I moved to a DAC, the major difference was that there was no hissing sound when you like crank up the volume.
Yeah.
Like otherwise, if there is a noise in the background all the time if you're using only a headphone amp.
That noise comes from these components inside your laptop, which are not optimized for being a DAC, right? They're like, okay, you just need an output, so you focus on that. They're more focused on the performance, GPU, CPU, and whatever comes in between, right? So these DACs that we own, the input to them is from USB, so that digital signal directly goes. It's not the headphone out. Right,
headphone jack.
Yeah, so you directly supply USB into the port behind, and it takes the USB digital data and it converts it into analog signal, and it comes out of a 3.5 or whatever jack that connects to your headphone. That's how they work, and I think that is a good segue into headphones as well, right?
Yeah.
Now we spoke about these ATH headphones. These are, I would say, mid-level headphones, or maybe a little expensive as well. For the purpose, but these make a big difference if you're coming from listening to headphones which are available for 300 to 500 rupees. These make a big difference, right? The sound quality is much better. There is a bit of noise cancelling as well. I mean, there is not much sound that comes through these headphones, and that itself creates elevates the sound of music as you start listening to it. And once we got this, I was fascinated because so this is called a closed back headphone, where you have this entire side closed, so no sound goes out or comes in, or nothing much comes out. Audiophiles prefer a different kind of headphone called an open back, where you have openings on this side of the headphone where sound can come in and go back. It sounds a little weird, because why would you want a headphone which is open and all the sounds can come in and sound can go out? It can bleed out of this. But the point is that open back headphones really give a better sound stage. You really feel like you're sitting in a hall and music is playing live or something like that. The same feeling that you get from a proper speaker.
Yeah, so two things, like the differences between open back and closed back. Closed back, when you listen to it, right? Like imagine you are at a public place, like a coffee shop or something, and you're listening to music using a closed back. So no one else would be able to listen to what you're listening. But if you're using an open back, because the sound bleeds from it, right? They'll be able to listen to it. That's the difference. So probably open backs would be better for listening to music at home.
Yeah, that is a technical difference. But the reason people prefer open back is because it provides a better. It makes you feel like sound is coming from a little further away from your head.
Yeah, that's my second point. Like when you're listening to music using an open back headphone, it feels that you're actually there with the musician. Like imagine you're listening to a live music performance by someone, some band. So you feel that you are in between them, and you can hear the vocals from behind, the bass from behind. Then you have the guitars on the sides and all the other instruments around playing around like that. You feel that you are actually at the concert. And close back, one thing about close back is that, especially when you're recording in a studio, right? Close back is more preferable because there's no bleeding of sound. If there is bleeding of sound, the microphone will pick it up. So it's mostly used during studio recordings.
Yeah, that is why we are using close back for recording this podcast, so that close backs are normally monitoring headphones, right? So that it doesn't bleed out. Open backs are mostly used by studio professionals when they're mixing, right?
Yeah.
So that it provides an actual reproduction of the sound that is being played. So they are used while mixing, but these are used while recording. That is the major difference. So I went ahead and bought a open back headphone. It's called DT1990 Pro by Bear Dynamics. It's a German company. It is much more expensive than a normal headphone, and sound is just out of the world. So past few weeks, I've been re-listening to all the songs that I've listened in my whole life. especially some of the songs like Hotel California, the live one version and all that kind of stuff.
A.R. Rahman.
Yeah,
Oh
A.R.
my
Rahman.
God. It's been a revelation. Like
Exactly.
the things which he has made, like produced like 20 years back.
Yeah, 25, 30 years almost.
Yeah, almost. It sounds so amazing. So how futuristic was he?
Yeah,
right?
specifically tracks from the album Tiruda Tiruda, Roja,
Rhythm.
I have my respect for him has, I don't know, more than doubled right now because of the subtle things that his music has here and there, which you can listen only if you have a good pair of headphones, maybe a headphone DAC and all that kind of stuff. So that is the whole reason that we got into it. Now we are at a play. I feel like music listening is a completely new experience for me, and also now that we discussed all the cassette players and CD and all that, now is the time of streaming music, right? So what really happens is the music files are in some server of these companies like Spotify or Apple Music or something, and they are giving you access through their apps where you are listening to the music which is on their server. Some apps do have an option to offline listen as well. But what happens in these cases is that it kind of loses a lot of quality because they have to compress the files, right? Otherwise your bandwidth will be eaten up. Normally a master file or a wave file, as they are called, like we record our podcast in wave format.
Yeah.
So a half an hour conversation is about 700 MB of
700
file, an audio file, which is equivalent to a movie file in a CD almost, right? Yeah. And the MP3s that we listen are like a 5-minute song will be around 5 MB, right? Yeah. So those are highly compressed and highly lossy kind of compressions where you lose a lot of details. So when you get serious about audio, you prefer to listen to audio files which have much more detail in it, like wave files and something called FLAC files and all. And there is a new encoding called MQA, Master Quality Authenticated, which is streamed by a service called Tidal, which is not readily available in India. You can use VPN and create an account, and it's very expensive as well.
Of course, there's a backdoor for everything.
Yeah, it's about $20 a month. I started listening to Tidal. They have this master quality recordings of many songs, and it's not incredible difference. I mean, it won't make much of a difference moving from Spotify to Tidal as much as you go from a 500 rupee headphone to a 10,000 rupee headphone, but definitely there is a difference in the sense it is more tight. It's it feels premium is what I have felt. You have also listened to it.
Yeah. So what I have noticed is that when it comes to like drums, right, the cymbals or like hi-hat, when you're listening to like an MP3, it feels that it bleeds a lot. Like it just feels like you have bought like a 500 rupee wala earphone, but but
the
change is much difference.
Yeah, we do understand that 500 is also a lot of money. It's not like 500 is cheap. But what we're trying to say is there is a definite difference. There is a quality difference, and in fact, CD audio, which comes as audio CD, that is a very high quality recording, right? You remember we used to rip these audio CDs into MP3 files. Yeah. I used to rip them into the lowest, I think 48. 64, right? 64 kbps files, thinking that it's going to save a lot of space. Of course, space was a constraint those time in computers. I used to think that it saves space, but you're getting the same thing. Now I realize that was such a lossy way of converting files.
Yeah, one thing I want to say is that, back then we used to like write CDs with music, right? Yeah. So 700 MB CD, you can fill up around like 100 songs, 70, 80 songs.
If it is MP3
If it's MP3, right? And then you get these, albums, like proper albums that you buy. There are like 13, probably like 20 songs max. Yeah. And I used to feel that what
are they doing with rest of the space?
Yeah, rest of the space, right? The thing was like they write it in that better format.
Yeah, I think it was wave format in a CD, right?
Yeah, there was this time I tried to like write more stuff on an actual album CD, thinking that there will be a lot of space. So that's one thing I learned. And if you look at our podcast, right, when we started out, we used to host in Libsyn.
Yeah.
45 MB or something. How
50
much was
MB, 50 MB is the limit for a month.
And we used to
put 4 episodes.
Yeah, we used to upload it in all the MP3 in like 64.
Yeah, it was 64. What my argument was that if you upload in 64, your normally our episode used to come around 9 to 10 MB. So you can easily upload 4 episodes without crossing the bandwidth limit. And I used to also argue saying that it's just, conversation, right? What big deal it's...
People can download it easier, you have told me. Like this also happened like few months back, because we used to upload MP3 in like 120 kbps, right? 128, yeah. We used to do that. So it'll be around like 30 MB per episode, 30-minute episode. But now that we have understood the whole thing about it, I have started uploading it in 320 kbps.
And the specific and one of the biggest difference that would be there in our previous episode and this episode is in our intro music.
Yeah.
Right. There are episodes where I've mixed it into a mono channel to even further reduce the size and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. After getting to know all these things, I went and panned our theme music. Like I separated all the instruments, panned it to like left and right. So if you go back and listen to our 99th episode and the 100th episode, there is a considerable difference in our theme music. You can actually find the difference.
Yes. So all these technologies which we spoke about, these are usually wired technologies, like the headphones that we just showed them, right? The ones we are using are all wired. Now, the new king in the market is all about Bluetooth and, true wireless, like the Jabra that you're holding in your hands, and the ones which you use for conference calls and all that kind of stuff. So they use a different kind of mechanism where it is converted into wireless technology, and then it is propagated, and there's a receiver which receives and converts it back to electrical signals and all that. Of course, they do have DACs inside them as well. So I was thinking that the time era of wired earphones are gone, because people are using Apple AirPods Pro 2, and even I at one point like few months ago was hell-bent on getting an Apple AirPod Pro that I almost purchased it. Thankfully I didn't, thinking that it is absolutely useful, because I use that RHA True Connect for some time. It's convenient, like you don't have to worry about the tangling wires and all that kind of stuff. But then I got introduced into something called IEMs. IEMs are these in-ear monitors, which is similar to earphones, the ones which go into your ears. But again, they have a flat or balanced sound signature. So I ended up purchasing an IEM from a company called KZ. They make these in-ear monitors. It's similar to normal earphones, except that they have wires and they have really, really good sound quality.
And it looks good too. You actually plan to go ahead with the black one, right?
Yeah, and these are fascinating because back in the day when I used to watch a lot of music videos, right, like especially Metallica when I was in college, they used to have these weird headphones in their ears which are shaped exactly like their ear canal and all. I used to think I never knew what it was. Those were actually in-ear earphones. And the actual use case for this is, to monitor while playing music and stuff, but these give a very accurate reproduction of music. So these are actually as good as some of the headphones as well.
Well, anyway, the earphone which comes with iPhone didn't work out for you, right?
I think...
Too good for it, right?
Okay, here's the thing, right? The wired earphone which came with my iPhone is absolutely good. Sound is insane. It's not bassy. It really has a good reproduction of all the frequencies and stuff like that. But the biggest problem with that earphone, it's my problem in fact, is that they don't fit into my ears properly. These are not the pro ones where you have that ear, that silicone bud inside. So they don't fit into my ears, and that is one of the reasons I actually bought these. And IEMs can be really cheap and well made, or it can be really expensive as well. There are IEMs which are worth like 1.5 lakhs as well. You can find them in Headphone Zone as well if you want to, explore.
So for me, like just a little bit about our history of using earphones. We used to be bass heads, probably because we used to play bass in our bands. And we used to buy these 120 to 180 rupee wala earphones.
Fake Sony or something, right? I don't know.
Super fake Sony.
Yeah. It was called Sony, right? But it was not Sony. It was not for Sony.
Sure. So we used to use these in-ear micro earphones, which used to be like, you can only hear the bass, and we used to survive on that. I think we used it for like at least 3-4 years.
I have bought so many of them. I don't remember how many.
Yeah, then we made a switch to other brands. JBL was one of them, and then there was this Sennheiser, the basic one, I think $700 or something.
That is CX180.
Yeah.
It's a very popular one, to be honest.
Yeah, it's actually good. It's actually good. The cheapest, but the best in that
Yeah.
range. And then convenience became an issue, and I moved to like wireless earphones. Even you bought a few, I feel.
Yeah, the one which I had was called Zook.
Zook.
Zook with 3 O's.
Yeah, even I had it, then I broke it, then came Boat. After that, convenience became a major thing, and I went ahead and bought this Jabra Elite.
These are really
75Ts.
amazing. Yeah.
These are true wireless earbuds with. Right now, it also has active noise cancellation. So whenever I travel to work, I need something to listen to podcasts, right? So I use these. These are excellent true wireless earbuds. I'd say these are the best. When it comes to like sound quality and price. So yeah.
I think these are even much better than AirPods, to be honest.
Yeah.
The only thing is with AirPods is if you have an iPhone, it is convenient. It has some gesture control and connectivity and all that. But these are value for money, and I think you got this again from Headphones Only.
Yeah. I got, because they had a sale, I got it for like way cheaper, or almost like 4K less.
Yeah, so if you're really into music and headphones and stuff, we would say, keep an eye. Probably they would have already been doing it. Keep an eye on Headphones On, because once in a while they have these amazing sales and stuff.
Also, like I think we're going to stop it here, right?
Yeah, I think we are pretty much done.
Yeah. Also, like one thing that I wanted to add is like there are like different kind of signature, sound signatures which headphones and earphones have, which are like bass boosted, which will have the bass on top of everything, and everything else mids and
they're called
highs would be like, no, it's bass boosted.
Okay, bass boosted.
Then there is warm, which is like a slope from
which
bass to like
So bass also has 2 components, right? One is the mid bass and sub bass, right? So I think warm are the ones where the normal bass and sub bass both are boosted a bit.
Warm means bass is there. Even the mids are not reduced that much.
Okay.
In bass boosted, the mids and the highs are like suppressed. Only the bass is there. Warms means bass is there, but mids are also not suppressed.
Right.
It's still there.
Only the treble goes down.
Down. Then there is balanced, which is like the bass and the highs are adjusted and the mids are reduced a little bit. Then we have V-shaped, which is the AirPods. I think this Jabra is balanced.
Yeah.
And AirPods are like V-shaped, which is high
and treble highly boosted, and mids are completely reduced.
Gone.
Mids is where the vocals come in, right?
Yeah.
So that is the reason if you are into really good vocal music, listening to vocal music like classical stuff and all that, probably V-shaped is not the one to get, because they actually suppress the vocal frequencies.
Yeah. Then you have the flat one where everything is flat. Whatever the audio has, it'll provide you that, which are the ones that we have, right? The Bear Dynamics and the Audio Technica one.
Right. So both are flat. Yeah. That is exactly the reason they are used by professionals in studio, because they want an accurate reproduction of the sound. And I think the IEMs that I own, they're also flat.
Then there is bright ones, which have the treble high, and the other ones, little on the downside.
Yeah, and this DT1990 has some of the treble frequencies little higher than normal. So if you're listening to, especially to female vocals and some of the cymbals and all those kind of tracks, sometimes it feels like it is little too much. But over a period of time, there is something called headphone burn-in, I think, wherein you use a headphone for a long time, it actually, the sound kind of shifts a little bit and becomes proper. And one last thing is some of the Bluetooth headsets which are specifically not designed for music. This is mostly for they're mostly designed for voice, like they're used for meetings and all that kind of stuff. We all have day jobs. So, there are companies like Jabra making headphones which are used for these purposes. Not good for music or anything like that. You can listen to music, but it's more for vocal.
I think especially during these times, these are perfect because work from home is the thing, right? And if you want to take a dump in between a meeting, you can go and do that because these have active noise cancelling.
And nobody is going to listen to something happening in background, so they'll only listen to your voice. So if you have these kind of issues, definitely go and check out these what do you call these headsets, right? With mic.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's our journey to being audiophiles, and we are still beginners, right?
Yeah, I think, there is a lot of debate about what an audiophile is. People think audiophiles are the ones who have these crazy expensive, audio listening stuff, DACs and amps and all those kind of stuff. But I really like an explanation given by someone called Steve Guttenberg. He is very popular in audiophile community and he calls himself Audiophiliac. He has a YouTube channel and all that. One thing that he says is, he considers someone to be an audiophile if that person listens to music without any interruptions for however period of time, every day, or however he pleases.
I think like someone who specifically gives time for music,
exactly.
right? Without having any distractions or like not multitasking.
Yeah, especially these days, music has become like a background track for most of us. Oh, you're working, let's put a music. Or you're doing something else, working out, play music. How much do you really focus on the music at the time of listening, right?
Yeah, that's what I've realized. In the past when we had tape records and all that, we used to like put on cassettes and sit and listen to it. Yeah. Even during the early 2010s, right? We used to like, when I was, going to college and all that, I used to make sure that I have time enough, coming home and listening to music and not doing anything else. Right. But over the past few years, it has changed.
Yeah.
And I'd be like messaging someone or like doing something else. I don't know. It's just, distracted listening. So now what I'm trying to do is like, I make sure that when I listen to music or like something, I put on an album, start from the beginning, first track, and try to like finish it
exactly
in one sitting.
That's exactly true. And there are people who listen to vinyl, they say the same thing. So there is someone called John Darko. He's also popular in audiophile community. He has a YouTube channel. He reviews, these things and all that. He says that, this whole reason that audiophiles like to listen to vinyls and CDs and all those kind of stuff is there is a ritual, right? So it takes some effort to go pick up a vinyl, open it, put it on a turntable and start listening. So you give more time and attention to it. On the other hand, if you're listening to a streaming service, it's always available, right? Your phone is on, you are walking, you go to a coffee shop, you're working, you can still stream it anytime. So that is why you don't give it much attention. So if you're consciously listening to music and doing nothing else, then you're an audiophile, which I think we are.
That's it.